Marble floors gleamed under Clara's cloth, each stroke precise, practiced. 3 years of cleaning Julian Blake's mansion had taught her to be invisible. That's what he preferred. Silence, obedience. The ghost who kept his world spotless. Clara. His voice cut through the afternoon stillness. She looked up. Julian stood in the doorway of his office, tie loosened, jaw tight. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Yes, Mr. Blake. I need you tonight." He didn't wait for her response. "There's a dinner, investors. My company's bleeding money, and I need them convinced." Clara straightened, confusion flickering across her face. "I don't understand. I need someone at my side." "You'll do." His tone was flat, transactional. "Just sit there. Be quiet. Smile, if necessary. I don't have time to find someone suitable." The words stung like winter air. Someone suitable. Clara's fingers tightened around the cleaning cloth. Pride warred with curiosity. This man barely looked at her most days, yet now he needed her. "Is that an invitation or an order, Mr. Blake?" His eyes finally met hers, cold, calculating. "It's neither. It's a necessity." The restaurant glowed with warm amber light, crystal chandeliers casting fractured rainbows across white tablecloths. Clara stepped from the car, her borrowed dress clinging to curves Julian had never noticed. She'd found it in the back of a closet, tags still attached, probably meant for someone else. Someone suitable. Julian waited at the entrance, phone pressed to his ear. When he saw her, his expression barely shifted. No acknowledgement. No reassurance. "Let's go." He turned and walked inside. The investors sat in a half circle, wolves in tailored suits. Clara recognized their type immediately. Men who measured worth in zeros and saw people as assets to acquire or discard. "Gentlemen, this is Clara." Julian's introduction was dismissive, almost bored. "She's joining us this evening." No last name. No context. Just Clara, as if she were decoration. Mr. Lawson, silver-haired and sharp-head, studied her with open curiosity. "Pleasure to meet you, Clara. And what do you do?" The table went quiet. Julian's hand tightened around his wine glass. Clara smiled, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down. This was her test. Speak and risk Julian's anger. Stay silent and confirm she was exactly what he'd brought her to be. Nothing. "I work for Mr. Blake," she said carefully. "In what capacity?" Julian's jaw clenched. The air grew heavy. Clara met Lawson's gaze. "I observe. I listen. I pay attention to what matters." Something sparked in Lawson's eyes. Intrigue. Recognition. "Interesting," he murmured. "Perhaps you'll share your observations tonight." Julian's hand found Clara's knee under the table. A warning. His fingers dug in, 5 points of pressure saying, "Remember your place." But as the first course arrived and conversation turned to profit margins and expansion strategies, Clara realized something profound. She understood these men. Their posturing, their desperation masked as confidence. And Julian, despite his mansion and his wealth, understood them least of all. When Lawson asked about corporate responsibility, Julian deflected. When questions turned ethical, he pivoted to profit. Clara watched, waited, and when Lawson looked at her again, she saw her moment. "What do you think, Clara? Does Mr. Blake's vision align with sustainable growth?" The table froze. Every eye on her. Julian's hand returned to her knee, crushing now a silent scream. Don single quotes taught Clara placed her hand over his, removed it gently, and spoke. "I think real leadership requires more than vision, Mr. Lawson. It requires understanding that people aren't resources to extract value from. They're the value itself." Silence. Then Lawson's slow, approving smile. "Exactly what I've been trying to explain." He looked at Julian. "Your companion understands what you don't, Blake. That's concerning." Julian's face drained of color, then flushed red. His eyes locked on Clara with something between fury and betrayal. She'd just destroyed the evening he'd. It's carefully orchestrated, and something told her. She'd destroyed much more than that. The car ride back was suffocating silence. Julian stared out the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. Clara could see his jaw working, grinding through rage and humiliation. When they reached the mansion, he didn't wait. He strode toward his office, and she knew the command before he spoke it. My office. Now. The door slammed behind her. He paced like a caged animal, hands raking through his hair. Oh, what were you thinking? His voice was too quiet, too controlled. The kind of calm before violence. Clara stood her ground. I answered a question. You embarrassed me. He spun toward her. I brought you there as window dressing. Clara. Silent, forgettable. Instead, decided to play philosopher and turn my investors against me. They asked my opinion. You're a housekeeper. The words exploded out of him. You clean. You fade into walls. You don't have opinions at tables where billions are discussed. Clara felt the words land like fists. But beneath the hurt, something harder formed. Anger. Clarity. Then why did you bring me? Julian froze. Why not hire an escort? Find a date. Bring anyone else? Her voice rose. You brought me because I was convenient. Available. Too afraid of you to say no. You're fired. The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Clara laughed. Actually laughed. The sound bitter and free. Of course I am. Because the problem isn't that your company is failing. The problem is that I spoke. She turned to leave. Clara. She stopped but didn't turn around. Julian's voice cracked just slightly. You humiliated me in front of men who control my future? No, Clara said softly. You did that yourself. I just refused to be silent while you drowned. She walked out. Packed her small room in 20 minutes. 3 years condensed into 2 suitcases and a cardboard box. As she loaded her car in the pre-dawn darkness, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Clara. This is Robert Lawson. We met tonight. Her hand trembled. Mr. Lawson? I wasn't expecting. I wanted to reach out before Blake tried to bury you in whatever wreckage he's creating. Papers rustled in the background. You showed more business acumen in 5 minutes than he's shown in 5 years. I'm starting a new venture. Ethical investment. Corporate accountability. I need people who understand what you clearly do. Clara leaned against her car, the mansion dark behind her. I'm a housekeeper. You're someone who sees clearly. That's rarer than you think. Pause. Take the weekend. Think about it. But Clara, don't let him convince you that you're small. You're the only one at that table who wasn't. The call ended. Clara looked back at the mansion one last time. Every window dark, except one. Julian's office. She could see his silhouette hunched over his desk, probably drinking away the disaster of the evening. Part of her wanted to feel satisfaction, victory. Instead, she felt only sadness. For him, for the person he could have been if he'd ever looked beyond. Himself, she drove away as the sun crept over the horizon. 6 months later, Clara walked into Lawson Industries headquarters wearing a tailored suit and carrying a leather portfolio. The intern at the desk looked up, startled by her confidence. Clara Reeves. I have a meeting with the executive board. Of course, Ms. Reeves. They're expecting you. The elevator rose 43 floors. In the mirrored walls, Clara barely recognized herself. She'd transformed. Not just clothes and posture, but something deeper. She'd found her voice and learned to wield it like a blade. The boardroom doors opened, and across the conference table, looking older and more haggard than she remembered, sat Julian Blake. His eyes widened. The coffee cup in his hand trembled. Clara? His voice was barely a whisper. Robert Lawson smiled. Gentlemen, let me introduce Clara Reeves, our new Director of Strategic Partnerships. She'll be overseeing the Blake Industries acquisition. Acquisition? We bought 40% of your company last week, Blake. Lawson's tone was pleasant but sharp. Didn't your CFO tell you? Clara will be working closely with your leadership team. Very closely. Clara met Julian's eyes across the table, saw recognition, horror, and something else. something that looked almost like relief. "Hello, Mr. Blake," she said calmly. "It's good to see you again." His hands gripped the table edge, knuckles white. "This can't be happening." Clara opened her portfolio, spreading financial reports across the table. "Your Q3 numbers are concerning. We need to discuss restructuring immediately." Julian stood abruptly, chair scraping. "I need air." He stumbled toward the door. "Mr. Blake," Clara called. Her voice stopped him cold. "The meeting starts in 5 minutes. With or without you." He turned, and for the first time she saw him clearly. Not the arrogant billionaire, not her former employer, but a man who'd built his empire on sand and was finally feeling it shift beneath his feet. "Why?" he asked hoarsely. "Why did you come back?" Clara smiled, sad, knowing. "I didn't come back for you, Julian. I came back for me." Rain hammered the windows of Julian's penthouse. 3 weeks since that boardroom. 3 weeks of Clara's scrutiny dissecting his every decision. The whiskey burned going down. His third glass. Or fifth. He'd lost count. The buzzer rang. He ignored it. It rang again, insistent. "Go away," he muttered. "It's Clara. Let me in or I'm calling security to override the lock." He buzzed her up because he was too tired to fight. When the elevator doors opened, she stood there drenched, hair plastered to her face, eyes blazing. "You missed the investor call," she said, stepping inside without invitation. "I know. They're threatening to pull funding from the Singapore project. I know that too." She studied him. He must have looked pathetic. Unshaven. Wrinkled shirt. The mighty Julian Blake reduced to this. "You're giving up." Her voice was softer than he expected. "What do you want me to say, Clara?" He laughed bitterly. "That you were right. That I'm a failure? Fine, you win. Congratulations on your revenge. This isn't revenge." "Then what is it?" He turned on her, and suddenly they were too close. He could smell rain and her perfume, something subtle that reminded him of the night at the restaurant. "You show up in my life again with all the power watching me drown. If that's not revenge, what is it?" Clara's eyes glistened. "It's a mirror, Julian. I'm showing you what you couldn't see before. And what's that? That you're more than this." She gestured at the penthouse, the view, the expensive emptiness. "You built an empire, but you're dying inside it." The truth of her words cut deep. He wanted to argue. Instead, he felt something break inside his chest. "I don't know how to fix it." His voice cracked. "I don't know how to be different." Clara's hand rose, hesitated, then touched his face. Her palm warm against his stubbled cheek. "Then let me help you." The kiss happened like lightning. Sudden. Inevitable. Wrong. In every way that mattered and right in ways he'd forgotten, existed. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. "This is insane," Clara whispered. "I'm your business partner. Your oversight. If anyone finds out I know, Lawson would fire me, I know. And you'd lose the last person trying to save your company." Julian's hands framed her face. "I know all of it. But I can't pretend anymore that I don't see you. That I haven't been seeing you since that night." Her eyes searched his. "What are you saying?" "That firing you was the worst mistake I ever made. That watching you walk away broke something in me." His forehead pressed against hers. "That maybe I needed to lose everything to see what actually mattered." Pretty words, Clara said, but her voice shook. "How do I know this isn't just another manipulation? Another way to control the situation?" "You don't." He pulled back. Honest. Raw. "I've been a bastard, Clara. Arrogant. Cruel. I treated you like you were invisible and then punished you for being seen. I don't deserve your trust, but I'm asking for a chance to earn it." Rain continued its assault on the windows. The city sprawled below, indifferent to their small drama. Clara stepped back. "I need to think. Okay. This can't happen again. Not until she stopped. Not until I know it's real." Julian nodded, even as everything in him screamed to pull her back. "Whatever you need." She moved toward the elevator. Paused with her hand on the button. "Julian. Yeah, don't miss tomorrow's call." The Singapore investors are your last chance. The elevator doors closed on her conflicted expression. Julian stood alone in his penthouse, the ghost of her touch still burning on his skin. He'd spent months fighting her oversight, resenting her power over his company. Now he realized the truth. She'd had power over him since the moment she'd spoken at that dinner. Since she'd refused to be small, he picked up his phone, dialed his assistant. "Cancel my morning. I need every file on the Singapore project. And get me a meeting with accounting. Someone's been cooking the books and I need to know who." If he was going to prove himself to Clara, he'd start by proving he could face his own failures. The next morning's investor call went smoothly. Julian presented transparently, acknowledged problems, outlined solutions. Afterward, Lawson pulled him aside. That was different better. The older man's eyes narrowed. Clara's influence? Julian met his gaze. Clara's honesty. Lawson nodded slowly. "Be careful, Blake. She's special. If you hurt her again, the business partnership will be the least of your concerns." Understood? That evening, Julian found Clara in the office late. She looked up from her laptop, surprised. "You did well today," she said cautiously. "I had good motivation." She closed the laptop. "We should talk about last night. I haven't been able to think about anything else." Clara stood, moving to the window. The city glittered below, possibility and danger in equal measure. "I want to believe you've changed. But Julian, I've seen behind your curtain. I know the calculations. The shortcuts. The casual cruelty." She turned. "How do I know this isn't just another transaction to you?" He crossed to her slowly. Stopped just out of reach. "You don't. But Clara, I'm tired of transactions. Tired of measuring everything by profit and loss." His voice dropped. "When I'm with you, I feel like maybe I could be someone worth saving." Her breath hitched. "You can't put that on me. Your redemption isn't my responsibility. I know. But maybe it could be our journey." She searched his face for long moments. Then slowly, carefully, she took his hand. "One step at a time," she whispered. "And the first time you lie to me, manipulate me, or treat me like property, I walk away forever. Deal." Their second kiss was slower, deeper, full of promises neither was sure they could keep. Neither saw the camera lens across the street. Documenting everything, the photographs arrived in Clara's inbox at 6:47 a.m. No sender name, just images. Her and Julian, the kiss, the embrace timestamps, angles that suggested professional surveillance. The subject line read, "Conflict of interest." Her coffee went cold as she scrolled through them. 15 photos. Damning. Undeniable. Her phone buzzed. "Lawson, it's now." The walk down the hall felt like a death march. When she entered, Lawson sat behind his desk, jaw tight. The photographs spread before him like evidence at a crime scene. "Explain." Clara's throat closed. "I don't know who sent those. That's not what I asked." His voice was ice. "I asked you to explain why you're sleeping with the man you're supposed to be holding accountable." "I'm not." She stopped. The denial died on her lips. "It's complicated, is it?" Lawson stood. "Because from where I'm sitting, it's remarkably simple. I gave you power, opportunity, trust, and you betrayed all of it for what? Romance with a man who fired you like trash. That's not fair." He laughed harshly. "Clara, do you understand what you've done? Every decision you've made regarding Blake Industries is now suspect. Every recommendation compromised. I have board members calling for your resignation. Some want legal action." The words hit like physical blows. Everything she'd built, evaporating. Who sent the photos? Does it matter? Lawson's expression softened slightly. "Clara, I believed in you. Saw potential everyone else missed, and you threw it away." Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "What do you want me to do?" "Resign. Today, I'll frame it as pursuing other opportunities. You keep your reputation intact, and Julian's company is no longer your concern." Clara nodded slowly. The floor felt unstable beneath her feet. "I'll have my resignation on your desk within the hour." She turned to leave. Clara? Lawson's voice stopped her. Was he worth it? She thought about Julian's transformation, the vulnerability, the genuine change she'd witnessed. I don't know yet. But in her office, Clara stared at her computer screen. The resignation letter cursor blinked accusingly. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from Julian. She answered the 18th. Clara, thank God, I've been trying to reach you. Did you do it? Her voice was flat, dead. Did I do what? The photographs. Someone sent surveillance photos of us to Lawson. I need to know if this was another one of your manipulations. Silence. Too long, Julian. Did you do it? No, I swear to you, I would never then. Who did? More silence. Then, I think I know. Clara's stomach dropped. Who? Marcus. My CFO. He's been fighting the restructuring. If you're removed, the oversight disappears. He can continue hiding whatever he's been hiding. You're saying your own employee sabotaged us. I'm saying I've been blind to a lot of things. But Clara, I swear on everything I didn't send those photos. I wouldn't hurt you like that. She wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe him. I'm resigning. Lawson gave me no choice. No. Julian's voice turned fierce. Don't. Don't let them win. They already have. She closed her eyes. I made a mistake, Julian. We both did. And now I'm paying for it? Then let me fix this. Can't fix this. Watch me. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, Julian Blake walked into Robert Lawson's office unannounced. Security tried to stop him. He pushed past. Get out, Lawson said coldly. Not until you hear me. Julian planted his hands on the desk. Clara did nothing wrong. If you want to punish someone, punish me. This isn't about punishment. It's about ethics. Ethics. Julian laughed bitterly. You want to talk about ethics? Your company acquired 40% of mine using information Clara gathered. Information she obtained through close oversight, intimate oversight. You profited from the exact thing you're now condemning her for. Lawson's eyes narrowed dangerously. Choose your next words carefully, Blake. I'm choosing honesty. Julian straightened. Clara Reeves is the best thing that happened to your company and mine. She saw my failures clearly, but believed I could change. She held me accountable while giving me room to grow. And yes, we developed feelings. Complicated, messy, inconvenient feelings. But her work has been impeccable. Every recommendation sound. Every analysis unbiased. The optics screw the optics. Julian's fist hit the desk. You gave her a chance when I threw her away. Don't do the same thing I did. Don't punish her for being human. What are you proposing? Julian pulled out his phone. Showed Lawson documents. Financial records. I've been investigating my CFO. He's been embezzling for 18 months. The Singapore project. The funding crisis? All manufactured to hide his theft? Clara was getting too close. So he hired someone to follow us. Create scandal. Remove her. Lawson's expression shifted. You have proof? Enough to involve authorities, but I wanted you to see it first. Julian's voice softened. Clara deserves better than this. From all of us, Lawson studied the documents for long minutes, then looked at Julian with something resembling respect. You've changed. She changed me. It doesn't solve our conflict of interest problem. Then remove me. Let Clara continue her oversight. I'll step back from day-to-day operations. But don't punish her for my mistakes. Not again. Lawson leaned back in his chair. That's quite a sacrifice, Blake. Your company is your identity. My company is buildings and balance sheets. Julian's voice cracked. Clara is real. And I've heard her enough. 30 minutes later, Clara sat in her office, resignation letter still unfinished, when her door opened. Julian walked in. His face was pale but determined. It's done, he said quietly. What's done? I'm stepping down as CEO. Marcus is being investigated. Lawson's keeping you on, he smiled sadly. You're free. Of scandal. Of association with me. Of everything. Clara stood slowly. You gave up your company? I gave up control of my company. There's a difference. He moved closer. Clara, I spent my life building walls, protecting territory, fighting for dominance. But you taught me something I never learned in business school. What's that? That some things are worth losing everything for. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. You idiot. You beautiful idiot. Is that a compliment? It's the truth. She crossed to him. Julian, you didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Because for once in my life, I wanted to choose right over easy. You over-ego. His hands cupped her face. I'm not asking you to forgive me, or trust me, or even speak to me after today. But I needed you to know that you're worth more than any company, any reputation, any amount of money. Clara kissed him, hard, desperate. A kiss that tasted like tears and second chances. When they broke apart, she whispered, What do we do now? Now? Julian smiled. Now we figure out how to build something better. Together. Outside the window. Storm clouds gathered. Neither of them saw the news alert on Clara's phone. Blake Industries CFO arrested. CEO steps down amid company. Restructuring. Neither of them knew that the hardest test was still to come. 6 months after Julian stepped down, Clara stood in the Blake Industries boardroom presenting the final restructuring proposal. The company had stabilized. Profits were returning. The ethics violations corrected. Julian sat at the far end of the table, no longer CEO, but still a major shareholder. He watched her with quiet pride. With these changes implemented, Clara concluded Blake Industries will not only survive, but thrive. Built on transparency, accountability, and genuine value creation. Applause, handshakes, success. But as the room emptied, Lawson lingered. Clara, a moment. Julian caught her eye. She nodded, and he left them alone. Lawson pulled out a folder. I have an offer for you. What kind of offer? CEO position. New subsidiary. We're launching in London. Ethical investment firm. Everything you've been building toward. He paused. It's your dream job, Clara. The one you've earned. Her heart raced. London. 3-year commitment. You'd be pioneering our entire European operation. His eyes were kind but serious. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. But you'd need to leave. Next month. Clara's hands trembled. I need time to think. Of course. But Clara. Lawson's voice softened. Don't let a man hold you back. Not even a changed one. That evening, she found Julian on the mansion's terrace where they'd spent countless nights, rebuilding his company and their relationship. He was staring at the city lights, a glass of water in his hand instead of whiskey. You heard, she said quietly. He turned, smiled sadly. Lawson called me. Wanted to make sure I wouldn't interfere with your decision. And will you? Julian crossed to her, took her hands. Clara, you know my history. Control, manipulation, bending people to my will. The old me would have made you choose, would have guilted you into staying. And the new you? The new me knows that loving you means wanting what's best for you, even if that takes you away from me. His voice cracked. London is your dream. Take it. Tears blurred her vision. Just like that? Just like that. He pulled her close. You gave me back my life, Clara, my humanity. You showed me what real strength looks like. I won't repay that by caging you. What if I want to stay? Do you? He pulled back, searched her face. Honestly, do you want to stay? Or do you feel obligated because I changed? Because we're together? Clara closed her eyes. The question she'd been avoiding for weeks. London represented everything she'd worked for. Recognition, power, the chance to build something meaningful from the ground up. But Julian represented transformation. Love the complicated. Messy reality of two broken people healing each other. I don't know, she whispered. Tell me what to do. No. Julian's hands framed her face. I spent my life telling people what to do, demanding obedience. I won't do that to you. This has to be your choice, free and clear. That's not fair. I need you to fight for me. I am fighting for you. his forehead pressed against hers. By letting you go? They stood like that, holding each other as the city breathed below. Two people who'd found each other in anger and grown together through pain. Finally, Clara spoke. I'm scared. Of what? Of choosing wrong? Of losing you? Of staying and resenting it? Of leaving and regretting it? Of everything. Julian pulled back, wiped her cheeks. You want to know what I've learned? What you taught me? What? That there are no perfect choices, only authentic ones. He smiled. So be authentic, Clara. Whatever you choose, I'll understand. You'll hate me. Never. The word was fierce. Final. I could never hate you. Disappointed? Heartbroken? Sure, but hate. Impossible. You saved me, Clara. No matter what happens next, that doesn't change. She kissed him then. Soft, sad, a goodbye kiss or a promise? She didn't know yet. I need 3 days, she said. 3 days alone to think clearly. Take as long as you need. Clara spent those 3 days walking the city, thinking, remembering. She visited the restaurant, where everything changed. Sat at the same table, saw herself as she'd been then, invisible, small, afraid. She walked past Lawson Industries, saw herself in the reflection, powerful, respected, transformed. She stood outside Julian's mansion, remembered cleaning floors, remembered being fired, remembered coming back as his equal, then his savior, then his lover. Who was she now? On the third evening, she called them both, Julian and Lawson. Asked them to meet her at the mansion. They arrived within minutes of each other. Stood in the foyer, waiting. Julian looked terrified. Lawson looked resigned. Clara descended the stairs slowly. Both men watched her like she held their futures in her hands. Maybe she did. I've made my decision, she said quietly. Julian's hands clenched at his sides. Lawson nodded, prepared for either answer. Clara looked at Julian. You once told me that I taught you what real strength looks like. Do you remember? Of course, you were wrong, she smiled through threatening tears. We taught each other. You showed me that change is possible, that people can grow. That power is meaningless without humanity. Clara, she turned to Lawson, and you gave me a chance when no one else would. Saw potential I didn't see in myself. You made me believe I deserved more. Lawson's expression softened. You do deserve more. I know. Clara took a breath. Which is why I'm accepting your offer. I'm going to London. Julian's face crumbled. He nodded, turned away. But, Clara continued, her voice stronger now, I'm going on my terms. 1 year commitment, not 3. I'll launch the subsidiary, build the team, then transition to a consultant role. Remote. Lawson frowned. That's not what we discussed, it's what I'm offering. Clara's voice was steel wrapped in silk. You taught me to know my worth, Mr. Lawson. I'm worth more than being tied to one location. You get my expertise, my vision, my leadership. But on my timeline? Silence. Then Lawson laughed. You've learned well. Fine. 1 year. But you better make it count. I will. Clara turned to Julian. And you're coming with me. Julian's head snapped up. What? Not forever. Not even the whole year. But visits. Long ones. And I'm coming back. Every chance I get. Because here's what I realized during my 3 days of thinking. She moved to him, took his hands. I don't have to choose between my career and love. Between my dreams and our reality. I can have both. But only if we're brave enough to build something new. Something that doesn't fit traditional boxes. Julian's eyes glistened. You'd do that? Risk it? You risked your company for me. I can risk a little geography for you, she smiled. Besides, I have a feeling a certain former CEO needs a new project. London's finance district could use some ethical disruption. You want me to start over? In a new city? I want us to start over, together, building something better than what we left behind. Julian pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. I love you. God, Clara, I love you. I know. She held him tight. I love you too. Enough to leave. Enough to come back. Enough to make it work. Lawson cleared his throat. Well, this is sufficiently complicated to make HR nervous. But I suppose that's becoming your specialty. Clara laughed, wiping her eyes. Life's complicated, Mr. Lawson. We're just being honest about it. Good. He moved toward the door. I'll have legal draw up the new contract. 1 year. Consultant transition. But Clara? Yes. Make it spectacular. Show them what real leadership looks like. Always. After he left, Clara and Julian stood in the mansion that had held so much history. The place where she'd been invisible, where she'd been fired, where she'd come back transformed. Are you sure? Julian asked quietly. This is a lot to navigate. Nothing worth having is easy. She looked up at him. You taught me that. I taught you nothing. You already knew how to fight. I just finally gave you a reason to, and let's keep fighting. For each other, for what we believe in, for a love that refuses to fit in boxes. Julian kissed her. Soft, then deeper. A kiss that tasted like new beginnings and hard-won trust. Outside, dawn broke over the city. Pink and gold lights spilled across the marble floors Clara once cleaned, the floors where she'd been invisible. Now she stood on them as herself. Fully seen, fully known, fully alive, ready for the next adventure. Julian whispered against her lips. Clara smiled. With you? Always. They walked into the sunrise together. Two people who'd destroyed each other and rebuilt something stronger from the ruins. Two people who'd learned that real love isn't about perfect choices or easy answers. It's about choosing each other. Again and again. Through distance and doubt. Through change and challenge. It's about being brave enough to say, this is messy and complicated and uncertain, and this is exactly where I want to be. The end.